And our special guest co-host is with us today, Captain Eddie Maldonado, that dude on the radio. We're always happy to have Eddie on the show. And our next guest we're very excited about is Tonya Trimble. She's the author of the book, Curiosity with a capital S. And that was published by Tell Me Press. It's available online at tonyatrimble.blogspot.com. Welcome to the show, Tonya. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Wow, I have to tell you, I want to give you a special toast because I think Curiosity with a capital S took me right back to my childhood when I really got into reading. And it was right at that age, 8 years old, 9 years old, when I really got into it. And I read really big novels, and then I had to read them throughout my life later a lot. Big ones, and I'd go, okay, Gone with the Wind was a little bit too much for me, but I still finished it, and I had no clue what I was reading. But your book really brought back that real child innocence, let's go exploring that fun part, going back to that. And I think nowadays, our children aren't experiencing that as much. Do you think so? Because I know you've been in the education industry so much as well.
Indeed. No, they don't have that opportunity anymore. And that was the neat thing about writing this book during World War II on an island where these children could have so many experiences. And it was a freer, slower time. And children today, these children on the island had they didn't have television, they didn't have iPods, they didn't have cell phones, they had to make their own entertainment. And so that's how so many of these adventures came about. Because they had to
Tonya, I want to just back up a little bit because people, when you talk about the island, this is an island in South Carolina.
Yes, indeed.
Back in World War II, right?
That's correct.
Wow.
Basically, and this book is based on my brothers and my adventures during that time. And it was during World War II, and my father was in the Navy, and he was stationed at Parris Island, South Carolina. And when we first got there, there was a shortage of housing, and so we had to find a place, and we finally rented a place across the channel on Ladies Island, and that's where all of this took place. So the book is based on those experiences.
It's fun.
Tonya, do you think, and I think it was just touched upon, that Lisa just, or you touched upon it, the fact that with all the electronics and the media and everything, do you think in our youth today that's destroyed the imaginative process, that they no longer, or it's been dulled, the imagination has been dulled so that they don't have that sense of adventure that many of us as kids used to have?
That I absolutely believe that. Even I've been retired for 12 years, but even when I was teaching then, you really have to get the children into something to grasp that idea and to let their imaginations work, because in the school systems today they don't have the time to do that. There are so many things pending that are very important that have to be done. So it's more teaching only the basics, and they don't have time for that creativity.
I think when you're looking at video games and television, that the creators of the shows, I think they do great jobs and all that. However, I do believe that children on their own, I know because I raised Lisa in Africa away from television, away from all these outside, all she really had was people and nature. And she was the happiest kid ever. Not saying she never got into trouble, but she had a superb imagination, and she would manufacture things and make things out of twigs and rocks. And I look at children today with the video games, it is so overdone, and so the special effects are so phenomenal that it's really hard for a child to go beyond what they're seeing. I mean, even as adults, when you watch a movie, is your imagination going far beyond what you just saw, or you're just sitting there going, wow, how did they do that? You know, I think that the part of leaving something to the imagination is gone, which I find really disturbing.
Well, I agree with you on that. I don't know what else to say, because we're just living in a different time, you know. Mm-hmm. In World War II era, as kids, we would say, Mom, we're going to go down take the boat and go down the river a bit, and Mom would just say, okay, I'll be home before dark. You know, it was a very, very safe and freer time where we'd had time to explore and to just have a good time and use our imaginations. And as you say, I mean, these children built, in the book, they built a tree house, and they had it all set up with all kinds of things, and they would go exploring, and they knew about plants and all kinds of things that we don't really have the time for these days in a school setting.
Tonya, what I really love about, and you probably have a unique perspective, the fact that you were an educator, and certainly history is a big part of the curricula, but you know, what's missing when you read history is you don't get that sense of connectivity or that connection to the past. And I think, unfortunately, for a lot of our children today, they miss that connection other than what they may read in a history book. And for something like what you have put together, I think is just wonderful for especially a child to be able to connect to the past, but in a different way, almost in a way that they can, you know, it inspires their imagination going back. My gosh, did they really do that? And that's wonderful.
Right. Well, you know, I do think that the book allows for the teaching of history. I think it would be really sad if a teacher reading this book or a student doing a novel study did not take into account the era in which it was written, because there are so many things. I mean, even back in that era, times were changing. As an example, the women were raised to be homemakers and take care of the children and bake and sew and, do all those things. But during the war, most of the men had to leave their jobs and go overseas. So those jobs had to be taken and filled by the women. So this was the beginning of the women coming out of the home. And that in itself, I think, is an interesting point that kids would like to know today.
I agree. Tonya, also I was reading that you have a teacher's guide, like a reader's and teacher's guide that is available. Is that available
yet? It's not available yet. We are still working on that, but we're hoping to have that out, and it will be online, so that teachers could use that for that very purpose.
So everyone, I just want you to know you can follow that on tellmepress.com, the publisher of the book. And I just want to say that the artist did a great job. I really do believe
Ted Enoch is the artist, is the illustrator, and he in children's literature is quite well known. He's done such things as the Magic School Bus, and he's done illustrations for the series of Eloise, and just lately Fancy Nancy. So when
thank you.
When he read. And I'm sure that applies to you as well. But anyway, we were just thrilled when he read the book and said that he would like to do that, because we had a special we were looking for someone who could keep the tone and the feel of old-fashioned, because that's really the era of the book. And we didn't want any illustrations with bright colors and modern designs and that kind of thing. So Ted Enoch did the cover, and he did it in colors. but the illustrations throughout the book are done in pen and ink, in keeping with the mood and the mood and the tone of the book.
You know, Tonya, I also want to mention, you know, at the back of the book that you have a list of words and phrases that were used in the 1940s for people to understand. And, you know, I wasn't born then either. I wasn't around then, so I found it interesting because you also brought up even radio shows like Inner Sanctum.
Oh. No one would know about those these days.
No. We actually tried to do a Halloween show that was on the War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Well, we did. We did our own Halloween show on it. It was fun. But I think, you know, you think about the value of radio just personally. You know, you watch what's happened around the world, and radio still sticks around, doesn't it? And back in the 1940s, how that was the mode of communication to know what was going on.
As today, you go into a home and the television is the center of the den or whatever. The radio is the center of the evening get-togethers after dinner. We would all sit around and listen to the radio because that was really. I'm sorry.
Do you think when children were sitting around with their parents listening to the news and the radio and things like that, that everybody was intent listening? Whereas now, because we have video, DVDs, I mean, you even can watch cars these days have DVD players in them, which I really am kind of against because I think children should learn to look at their surroundings. You know, it's kind of we're glued onto the screen. Back in the days with radio, it was like, wow, this voice is coming out of this box. I wasn't there. What do you think? Do you think we've lost the art of patience a little bit from when you sat and listened intently to now? When we have all these flashy things?
Well, I mean, I think the answer to that is yes. You know, I don't think we live in such a fast time nowadays that it's very difficult to sit and listen and be content and try to get something out of what's being said or read or whatever.
Just remember, going back to the radio days, only the shadow knows.
That's right.
Only the shadow knows.
I was looking at your glossary, and I know who Cheetah is.
Do you? Okay.
Absolutely.
That's interesting because when I read my manuscript to my kids, you know, we always have a 20-minute period of reading to the children, and I would read the manuscript to them, and they would say, Cheetah? Who's Cheetah? Who's Jane? They had absolutely no idea. So there's a lot of times within the book that, you know, there are things that need to be explained.
Well, I have to tell you that I'm famous for my imitation of Cheetah.
Do it. I dare you.
Oh, no way.
Oh, come on.
Oh, no.
Oh, please.
Okay, then hold your eardrums. Are you ready for this, people?
Ow, everybody, this is going to hurt.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Have some champagne, Nancy.
You know what? For the first time, I'm speechless. I have no comment.
See what happens when you come on our show?
See, you're not here. I'm actually jumping up and down.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Who knew, Tonya? Tonya, it's a wonderful book, and I think it really does bridge the gap, and it does bring the child out in us, and Stan's antics are great.
Obviously, it did it for me.
I want to get in the boat, and I want to go swim with sharks, and I want to go do all the crazy little things again. I think it reminds us that curiosity, yes, it can get you in trouble, but isn't that what it's all about? I mean, we started talking at the beginning of the show about, you know, crossing over to Nogales, Mexico. People don't want us to do that kind of stuff. No, bad things can happen. But it's that curiosity and that let's step over and see what's around the corner. And I think that is something we have to embrace again and have that thrill again in life. And I think
Tonya, I think what you said, and thank you very much for clarifying, because not only is that the nostalgia, but it's an entry into history and a way of presenting our history in the time, and thank you for capturing that.
Well, you are welcome. You know, I have to say just one thing. When I was reading to my class this manuscript, that was in the 4th grade, and you know, years later, they'd be seniors in high school or they would be in college, and we'd meet in a restaurant or someplace, and they'd say, "Oh, Miss Trimble, did you ever publish that book?" And I would say no, and they'd say, "Oh yeah, but I remember when Stan did." You know, I'm going, how can you remember that? I mean, that's 7, 8 years, 9 years later.
See?
So
it's
I think
fun.
it did hit something for the children, and I think they really enjoyed it. So
They identify with him.
You know what?
They
I'm
identify with
37, and I identify with it, and I loved it.
Oh,
well,
I'm
you
so
just
glad.
made me do cheetahs, so you rock.
Yeah, Tonya, you do. You know what? This is my favorite champagne toast of the day, to Tonya and to Curiosity with a capital F. Absolutely in a wonderful book, and something I think our country and around the world, children and parents will dearly love. And I'm going to say it's the perfect stocking gift, stocking stuffer, because of the size, and it's something fun,
right.
and it's something that families can get around together with and enjoy, because I think it delights the child within all of us, and it's delightful. That's the word I always come up with your book, is delightful. And
thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much, Tonya.
Well, thank
you.
you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You take care.
Happy
right.
Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And
Happy
to you.
Thanksgiving. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Everybody, again, the book is Curiosity with a capital S. It's by Tonya Trimble. It's published by Tell Me Press. And especially, she was talking about this guide that she's putting together for teachers and readers. You want to watch on there. But you can also go directly to her blog, which is tonyatrimble.blogspot.com. So follow that, but also Amazon and all those great online stores.
I'm still trying to get past cheetah.
You want me to do it again?
Well, I tell you what, we're going to go to New Mexico now. Nancy can play cougar.
You know, I really do all the sound effects here. Everybody thinks it's recordings, but it's just me.
Yeah, right. We're gonna chat with artist Victoria Chick. We are having some technical issues because we are having storms across our southwest region. So hopefully this will work. If not, we will reschedule Victoria. But let's see if we can get her on the line and have a clear connection. And if not, we'll just drink some champagne. How about that?
I have other impressions I could do.
All right. Stay tuned.